Good morning, guys. How are we all doing? So I'm Dan from Trading with Dan. This is our Bitcoin morning update. So if you guys wouldn't mind smashing that like button, we shall go straight over to those Bitcoin 4-hour charts. Yes, so Bitcoin on the 4-hour, we are up again at this very important resistance level. This $58,500 level actually have wicked above it, taken out our previous highs. After what was a nice little pullback after our previous attempts at taking it out. So yeah, we find ourselves up here again, a little bit of consolidation in the zone. Obviously, this is looking pretty bullish. This is a pretty area of well, it's basically an area of not much overhead resistance at all. So once we do break above this overhead resistance, we can pretty much start to get a bit wet and wild up here. Targets into the 60,000s, maybe even deep into 60,000s. Before we then ultimately get like some sort of a medium term top and then a larger medium term time frame pullback. But yeah, we have not broken through at the moment though. We have not broken through at the moment, so there is clearly obviously the potential to still trade sideways within this range. If we kind of look at this previous high and this area here, this is pretty much smack bang in the middle, so we could very much consolidate within this area, maybe bouncing between the top half or the bottom half, or just the whole way. So yeah, well, we just gotta wait till we break through, and until we do that, realistically, we should be looking at sideways consolidation. Anywhere above 53,000, and then if we take out 53,000, then yeah, look to more downsides towards the 50s, maybe even the 48,000s. But obviously we've got to give it every chance to break to the upside. So yeah, clearly ETF news incoming, which I'm sure will give it a pop. Maybe that will be what gives us that pop. Maybe a nice 10k move over a couple of days. Up towards this $68,000 level, and then yeah, then we play out some sideways consolidation with obviously a lot of volatility, and then potentially play a back test of who knows realistically where it could be this important level, at a very aggressive level to pull back to, or it could be at the 53 or the $50,000 level. We shall have to see, but things are obviously looking good for Bitcoin and crypto as a whole. So yeah, if we do want to go and look out also at the Ethereum Satoshi pairing, with obviously this sideways, as we would expect, this is at least put a halt to its downward move. It has broken back above this trend line that we've had going on, and obviously supported by this support level. So yeah, I mean, obviously if we do trade sideways where we are now in Bitcoin, then I'd expect this to probably just to keep grinding to the upside. But when Bitcoin does make an aggressive move, either to the upside or the downside, well, we know Ethereum is struggling to keep up here, and all altcoins are obviously, apart from the Polkadot ones, because of the parachain news. But yeah, if we actually look at the USD pairing for Ethereum as well, you can see we're at this horizontal again for the third time of asking. So can we break through here as well, get a nice bit of acceleration? Yeah, I think we could do, but obviously this is just a dollar value. Bitcoin may accelerate at a faster rate. So I mean, the important chart realistically as a crypto native to look at is this one. But yeah, I mean, this is clearly looking like a one of those good old inverted head and shoulders, which would have quite a nice actual target to the upside. I mean, roughly speaking, up to around $4,500. So yeah, got that to potentially look out for, which would basically take us back to this previous high, near enough. So yeah, Ethereum could start to get some attention soon. I mean, clearly it has been a massive laggard. I mean, this literally is a chart of lagging against Bitcoin. That is what it is telling us. But yeah, Ethereum could start to get going again. If we look at Bitcoin dominance as a whole as well, it's pulled back a little bit, but yeah, I mean, this looks like it could overall start to reverse here. But again, it does ultimately matter what happens with Bitcoin. But yeah, we've got these levels. I mean, realistically, this level we take out here, then we would really expect that to be the end of this upward move. But that's still quite far away from price anyway. Let's have a look at the good old stock markets. Again, trying to push above this pretty important resistance at the moment. This level, price needs to establish itself within this area again, and then continue to push on upwards. I think is a bit of a call, but I think we've actually seen the near-term highs for this the 10-year yield. What I think is happening now is obviously with inflation going crazy. Well, I say going crazy. With obviously inflation going up, the Fed pretty much with its blinkers on. Now the Fed is starting to admit that it realizes it and potentially is going to do something. What we then happen is then we have the front running of we're going to have the front running of the destruction of the economy by whatever the Fed feels it has to do to protect the currency. So basically that equals lower bond yields. So that is what I think will be front run and priced in now. I mean, on a note of the Fed, ultimately the Fed does want inflation. The Fed wants inflation because like we all know that the dollar and everything has lost basically 90% of its value. Basically the dollar's lost 90+% of its value against basically everything since its inception, and that's how they ultimately default on their debts. They do the old inflation slow rug on their debt holders. And that's basically what they need. But obviously, it needs to they need to boil those frogs slowly, so they basically don't just jump out and abandon the currency in one big go. To continue with that analogy. But yeah, so they do need inflation, but they don't just need it been so blatantly in people's faces and at such elevated levels. So they're gonna pretend that they're gonna do stuff, especially non-voting members of the FOMC are going to come out saying hawkish things, whereas most of the actual voting members will probably just keep obviously keep in line with their obviously overall dovish stance. But basically, they want inflation, but just not this much inflation, because the only way that they can solve obviously the debt crisis isn't to inflate it away. They are never ever gonna have a deflationary event where a deflationary like debt destruction, because that just blows everything up literally. And then the financial system as we know it and everything is done. Inflation is the only way. It is the only way. It is basically a Ponzi scheme. Like that's not just a term we just throw around just to insult the system. It literally is a Ponzi scheme. And yeah, I mean that's just is a system we live in. It is massively inefficient. It is massively corrupt. But well, that's what happens when we have a massively inefficient, massively corrupt financial and political system and global elite system that rules our precious little planet. So yeah, basically I think we've probably seen the high in bond yields because ultimately the Fed is now going to start. I mean, the IMF is already cutting growth forecasts, which is another sign that I mean these guys will always be behind the curve. They will always be not only be behind the curve, they will also be underestimating the curve as well. They will literally be trying to manipulate every statistic they can in a propaganda Politburo fashion to not make things seem as bad as they are. But yeah, so obviously that as well as them literally being behind the curve. But yeah, so if you do want to look at the DXY as well, it does look like this bullish trajectory has been lost. So yeah, maybe expect a back test at some point. Maybe, but this could be done and dusted now. I mean, I have been talking about, as you guys know, that I was not realistically expecting the dollars to get any higher than this level, this horizontal or this trend line, before coming down and then basically coming all the way down and then ultimately breaking out below the bottom of here. That is my macro view, and my technical view as well. Looking very toppy here. Looking like we could pay some downside. I know that every man and his dog appears to be bullish of the dollar. But again, they are obviously looking at the inflation, and then they are basically looking at the they're not looking forward. Markets are forward pricing, and forward pricing indicates that basically that bond yields are going down, and a lot of this move up in the dollar is predicated on bond yields going up because of inflation. Because ultimately, bonds are just future dollars, just discounted future dollars. So yes. There you go. I say discounted. I mean, they could be negatively discounted, i.e. appreciated future dollars if obviously inflation, real inflation is basically basically real yields are obviously negative. So anyway, let's finally have a look at just look at the stochastics. Do they indicate we are going to break through? Have we got a bullish reset on the medium time frames yet, or are we still looking for more sideways to down before a break up? 4 hour is 4 hour for what it's worth. It's only a 4 hour. Could help us break up above that 58. Yeah, 10 hour. Still not pointing up yet, but if this does turn back and start to get going, if we do hold around this level, and then yeah, we could get going. 12 hours clearly is still going to be pointing down as well. But yeah, still in this very bullish area, but still nonetheless downward pressure. Daily has turned back up though. So that is obviously to the plus side. 2 day is still up and pointing up, but it's getting a bit toppy here. 3 day obviously looking good. 5 day looking good. Weekly also turned down as well here. Bi-weekly looking good, and then we are waiting for that monthly to turn off. I will be pretty excited once I see this monthly turn up. This is clearly price action since 2017. It will be nice to see this going back up, but again a mixed read from Stochastics. So I mean, my bias is always that we spend most of the time trading sideways, and trending price action is it happens a lower percentage of the time. So my bias will clearly be sideways here. So the stochastic read, whilst it's pretty balanced, well, my guess would be that we just still trade sideways here for a bit. But nonetheless, that's why we have the horizontals in. If we break above and confirm, then yeah, that is the indication that we are going higher, and that we just I mean, that is it. We don't just look at one thing to decide where we think price action is going. So altcoins obviously getting a bit of love here, because maybe they are seeing the potential for just more sideways consolidation here, maybe not breaking above yet. And if we do break above, maybe it will be won't be as crazy as what I potentially think it could be. Maybe it will just be a break up, and we just have some little wicks above, some little price action above before ultimately coming down like we did up here. But yeah, we shall have to see. Interesting times. What I think is very interesting is this turnaround in bond yields, because that could be a pretty substantial support for stock markets, for over-leveraged corporations, and obviously over-leveraged everybody, to be honest. This isn't the right chart, but yeah, I think could be support for stock markets, and then obviously give us that leg up, that mini reflation trade into Q4, and then new all-time highs for basically everything in the bubble of everything apart from bonds. I don't think bonds will reach new all-time highs in prices as in lows in yields, but they obviously got pretty extreme, did get to pretty extreme low levels, so I don't think that will happen. But yeah, everything else pretty much, everything else, I think it is still game on for the bubble of everything. I think we are turning around in these bond yields, and I think we will basically see onwards and upwards into the end of the year. So yeah, there we go, guys. Remember, this is not a financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor. Always do your own research, and I shall speak to you fine people soon.